Fourth grade into math lesson 12.3. Identify equivalent fractions and decimals. I can write a fraction in tens as a fraction in hundredths and as a decimal in tens and hundredths. Okay, so our first lesson we worked on the tenth place value. Our next lesson we worked on the hundredths place value, and now we're going to see how we can get equivalent fractions and decimals. To start your learning, Kelly buys 4/10 kilograms of American cheese at the deli counter. Write the amount of cheese that Kelly buys as a fraction and as a decimal in hundredths. Okay, so we have 4/10, right? If I wanted to get that to hundredths, how did I get from here to here? By 10, right? I do on the bottom, I do on the top. So 4 times 10 is 40. Okay, now if I wanted to write 4/10 as a decimal, what would I write? Do I have any holes? Nope. So I put 0.4, right? Because tenths goes one place after the decimal, right? If I wanted to write 40 hundredths as a decimal, I don't have a hole, so I write 0 decimal. And then how many places does hundredths go after the decimal? 2. So if I wrote what the number on top was 40, does that get me to fill in my 2 spots? Yes. Build understanding number 1. Joel spends 1 and 3/10 hours shopping for groceries at the supermarket. How can you represent the time spent as a mixed number in hundredths and as a decimal in hundredths? Okay, so once again, we have the 1 and 3/10. Okay, now, am I changing my whole number? No. Okay, so that is still going to stay the same, but they want to change out of hundredths, right? So does my denominator change? Yes. So I need to put 100 here. Okay, and then how did I get from 10 to 100? Times 10. So what I do on the bottom, I also do on the top. So 3 times 10 is 30. So now they want us to write that as a decimal. So do I have any whole numbers? Yes, what is it? 1, right? Okay, then I need to put in my decimal. And then how many hundredths do I have? What was my numerator of what I just came up with? 30. Okay, so connect to vocabulary real quick. It says equivalent decimals are 2 or more decimals that name the same number. So letter A, let's talk about it. What is the relationship between the tenth and the hundredth? What do you guys see as a relationship between them? So here you had 3, right? And then you went to 30. So basically for every 10, right? For every 10, that equals what? 10 hundredths, right? Okay, so if you think about yesterday when we were shading in our boxes, for each column we did, right? That was what? 10 little boxes, right? Okay, and so we know that longs are tens, right? And then if you break that up, that's one section of 100. So how can you use that relationship to rename tenths as an equivalent fraction in hundredths? So what did we do here, guys? We just had to multiply the tenths times 10, right, to get to hundredths. How can you write the fraction in hundredths as a decimal in hundredths? So what can we do, guys? So basically, you have your decimal, right? Because with hundredths, because THS means that's a decimal form, right? So you have to have some kind of decimal. And then how many place values after the decimal do you need to go for hundredths? 2, right? Okay. So that is what you need to make sure you have in order to have a decimal in hundredths. Stepping up, number 2, Pam walks with her mother from the market to her home. Write the distance in fraction form and decimal form in tenths. Write the distance as a fraction in hundredths. Okay, So they gave us the number over here, right? Okay, so what is it? 60 hundredths, right? Which equals what is a fraction? What do I put over each other? 60 over 100, and then my label of mile. Okay, so 60 hundredths of a mile. Use division to rename the fraction in hundredths as a fraction in tenths. So from now, what we've done is we went from tenths to hundredths, right? So we went from 10 to 100, so we multiply. This time we're going to divide, okay? So we have 60 hundredths, and then I need to get something with tenths on the bottom. So how do I get from 100 to 10? Divide by 10. What I do on the bottom, I do on the top. So what is 60 divided by 10? 6. So our new fraction is 6/10 of a mile. And then now they want us to write that 6/10 in a decimal form. How do I write 6/10 as a decimal? Do I have a whole? No. So I put 0 decimal 6 because tenths is one place after the decimal. And what is my label? Mile. Check understanding number 1. Tara drinks 2/10 liters of apple juice. Write the amount of apple juice as a fraction and as a decimal in hundredths. Okay, now what I want you guys to do is I want you to circle what we're originally starting with. Because as we've been doing this, my friends are like, well, I don't know what it even is. And is it because we're not reading the problem and identifying what we're looking for? Yes. Okay, so over here to the side, we're going to write 2/10. And then they want us to now write it in what? Hundredths. So what's my new denominator? 100. So how did I get from 10 to 100? Times 10. So what I do on the bottom, I do on the top. So what is 2 times 10? 20. Okay, so my new fraction is 20 hundredths. And then decimal form, do I have a whole number? No, so I put a 0 decimal 20 because they want it to go to the hundredth place. Now, what if I was writing that in tenths? What would I write? 0.2. Number 2, a store clerk unpacks 2 and 4/10 cases of milk cartons. Rename the number of cases as a mixed number and a decimal in hundredths. So let's circle what we're using. What are we using? 2 and 4/10. Oh, something I noticed we forgot up here was a what? Label. Okay, so I need 2 and 4/10, and they want it to be out of what? Hundredths. Do I change the whole number? No, it stays the same. I still write 2, and then my new denominator is 100. So how did I get from 10 to 100? Times 10. What I do on the bottom, I do on the top. So 4 times 10 is 40. So my new mixed number in hundredths is 2 and 40 hundredths of a case. Or teaspoons, right? Okay. How do I write that in decimal form? Do I have a whole number? Yes. What is my whole number? 2 decimal. And then what is my hundredth place? 40. Sorry, just write 40. And then cases. Number 3. Jennifer buys 70 kilograms of mixed nuts. Rename the number of kilograms as a fraction and decimal in tenths. Okay, so we're going to circle our 70 hundredths of a kilogram. Okay, so that's what we're starting with, 70 hundredths of a kilogram. And they want it in what now? In a decimal, but also in tenths, right? So 10 is going to be my new denominator. So how did I get from 100 to 10? Divided by 10. So what I do on the bottom, I do on the top. So 70 divided by 10 is what? 7. So that is my new fraction. So 7/10 of a kilogram. And then how do I write that in decimal form? Do I have any whole numbers? No, so I write 0.7 and then kilogram or kilogram. On your own, number 4. Janelle saves 1/10 of her paycheck each week. Shape the hundredths model to show that amount. What is 1/10 written as a decimal in hundredths? Okay, so we just talked about how a 1 long is also equal to 10 hundredths, right? So how many of those columns am I going to color in? One of them. So we just said that 1/10 equals 10 hundredths. So now how do I write that as a decimal? Do I have any whole numbers? No, so I put 0.10, right? Because they want it out of hundreds. Okay, number 5. Mr. Gardell serves 40 hundredths liter of turkey gravy. Explain how you can rename 40 hundredths and tenths in fraction and decimal form. So let's put our line. Put and because. So what would we write that as a fraction? 40 hundredths like this, right? Equals, what is our new denominator? We can actually write a little bigger than that. We don't have to write so small. What's our new denominator? 10. So 40 hundredths equals something over 10. So how did I get from 100 to 10? Divide by 10. What I do on the bottom, I do on the top. So what is 40 divided by 10? 4. So as a fraction, I'd write 4/10 of a liter. And then as a decimal, I'd write what? 0.4 liter. Okay, number 6. A roll of foil has 3 9/10 meters left on the roll. Rename the length of the foil as a mixed number and as a decimal in hundredths. So I start with my 3 and my 9/10. I need to pull that out real quick, right? With the meters, because we're not to have a label. So does my whole number change? No. So I keep that, and my new denominator is what? 100. So how did I get from 10 to 100? Times 10. So what I do on the bottom, I do on the top. So 9 times 10 is 90. And what's my label? Meters. Okay, and then they want that as a decimal also. Do I have a whole number? No. Yes. What is it? 3. And then my hundredths goes as 90, right? So 3 and 90 hundredths meters. Okay, so we went ahead and worked out number 7, and we pulled out 4 and 1500. They want the new decimal and mixed number in tenths. So we took 4 and 1500, divided the bottom by 10, so we did the same on the top and got 4 and 5/10. And then we also wrote that in decimal form with 4 and 5/10 minutes. Okay, so number 8. Chloe says that 90 hundredths is equivalent to 9 hundredths. Is Chloe correct? Explain. We're just going to talk about it. So is Chloe correct? No, she is not. Because 90 hundredths, if we went up here and drew a box out like on number 4 that has 100 pieces in it, and I went to color in 90 hundredths, would I color in 90 of those little boxes? Yes. Okay. If I went to color in 900, would that be 90 of those little boxes? No, it would only be 9 little boxes. So they are not equivalent. Okay.